Well, this is it. It looks like we ended up in the final frontier, and hopefully we can able to stop Owen's plans to destroy the world, or in this case the Spectral Realm. Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Mexi here, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Pac-Man World 3 for the Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox, PSP, PC, and of course the DS version, the worst version of the game. So, last time we basically just managed to complete it, the forms of the 14th world, and that was actually kind of lengthy. Probably it's like, I don't know what do I usually say about this right now, because it has been about a day ago since I actually last touched this, so either way though, I somehow managed to forget that part. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll present you the finale of Pac-Man World 3 Let's Play, and because of that, we ended up on the forms of the final world in a game, and this what appears to be known as the Shadow Temple, and meaning about the fact that hopefully we can stop Owen for good, and basically we can able to actually just, well, save the day, basically. So either way, and this place is going to be filled to the brim with a lot of enemy battles, meaning about the fact that we have to constantly going to do this throughout the majority of the level. Well, sometimes, mind you, but regardless of anything else though, hopefully we're able to get these guys down and over with before we move on to the next few segments worth noting for. So, yeah, today's day is of course the 30th of July, in this case in 2021. We only got 2 days left now until specifically when we move on to August. So because of that, yeah, we can expect we can able to actually just to do some more Let's Plays until next month. Well, mind you, that Mighty is still going to go back on to Mario Party 5 until tomorrow anyway, and eventually later on in August, and once he's pretty much done with Mario Party 5, we're pretty much going to move on to the next Mario Party, which is Mario Party 6. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that specific topic worth noting for. But, anyway, so, yeah, hopefully this will be the last time we're going to be doing a lot of combat segments, because once we're done with the actual combat sections, then we're basically pretty much guaranteed able to move on to the final boss in the game. So, I'm really hoping that the final boss will be a lot more challenging than the forms of how it does it on the first time around. But we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens. So, anyway, so there's another thing I just want to explain is the fact that I think generally speaking there's not much else I can talk about because, well, I will get to my final thoughts of this game once we're able to finish up with Shadow Temple. So because of that though, hopefully we would be able to actually just get some of these well, segments down and over with, especially noticeable how the fact that I will have to admit though right away that some of the enemy battle sections, whenever we go down to the elevator, can sometimes take a bit too long for my taste, but hopefully we're able to actually just try to utilize the actual power-ups, so that way we can able to actually just to deal with these guys a lot easier. So hopefully that should be the case for this point. So because of that though, and of course that's even though it kind of reminds me of the well, I don't know about you, but even then though, that whilst unlike in Pac-Man World 1, that does manage to take place in a let's just say a mansion manner, like in the final world in the game, and face off against with Pac-Man at the end. Whilst in the forms of Pac-Man World 2, it does manage to take place in a spooky, like, field kind of environment, and the final boss in that game is actually spooky. But I'll have to admit that right away, I think Pac-Man is actually one of the better final bosses in the whole entire trilogy. Although, mind you, the spooky is actually kind of cool too. Like, it gets pretty chaotic at points, and especially kind of challenging as well. But it's actually kind of easy though. But as far as Pac-Man is concerned, that's the only thing that makes that particular boss fight a lot more challenging than the other two is the fact that, well, you don't have checkpoints. So, at least in between those different segments. So, whilst unlike in Pac-Man World 2, that you get the checkpoint if you manage to able to actually just to deal amount of damage to certain bosses and all that stuff. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So, and unfortunately I'm almost gonna die right there just because of these stupid robots just managed able to tick me off again. And also every once in a while though, we need to avoid that particular, I would say a Steam section, which I think I actually did somehow manage to able to bypass that, or just try to avoid those completely. So that way we can able to actually expect to able to actually just to try to avoid those specific stuff. And on the other hand though, as far as what I've usually said this since in the forms of in the last video, that usually for this particular world right there, basically this world might actually be the only world next to the forms of Pac-Man battle, because that level's like really short. This world does not contain a Galaxian, so because of that, because we pretty much expected that we've pretty much done several mazes, well, not all of them mind you, just because, well, sometimes trying to find those Galaxians can be a bit difficult to find, especially noticeable if you have a first time play for this particular whole entire game. So, yeah, that's as far as I can say about it, so... And surprisingly enough, that this world only has like quite a few amounts of those fruits, like specifically only 3 fruits to collect, so that's to be expected, especially noticeable that, you know, this is the final world in the game. So because of that though, this is the 15th world as a matter of fact as well. So yeah, I can usually just try and able to actually just to point it out for that specific matter, so... Ah, jeez, I forgot about these lasers. And of course, this will be the last time we're going to be able to be seeing these little metal scorpions, but thankfully you can able to do with them as an optional method. So just because of how the fact that in this particular section, we have to obviously need to take down these little particular generator containers, because obviously if you do take some of these little containers down, basically that's, well, it'll actually just take the lasers down, so, or the laser gates I should say, so because of that, hopefully we can able to get some progressioning for the sake of time. Also, I believe that this is one of those, kind of a medium-like lengthy stage, well, at least aside from the fact that, well, I'll point it out whenever we're able to actually just, well, once we get into the temple itself, in this case, the final, like, segment throughout the whole level. So anyways, let's grab the health wedge, and hopefully we would be able to actually now go ahead and continue, because obviously we're now able to actually took down every single generator containers, and we'll skip over those little particular scorpions, because obviously there's no need to able to actually just to deal with them, and we can probably go forward. And I need to know what's in these jars, aside from the health wedge and some more pack dots, and that's right there. Well, first of all, let me just go ahead and obtain some more collectibles, like the some more fruits, and also some even more pack dots, and especially noticeable with the forms of the oh, okay, so we seem to be missing something. Well, I don't think we're actually missing something, well, aside from that last 25th anniversary statue, so that's okay. So, yeah, I think I was missing one of those items, but that's okay. So, anyways, I think, for the sake of time, I think this is actually the final time we're going to be seeing that particular, save your data, pad right there. So, just in case you can able to actually just to save your game before you take on the final boss in the game. So, hopefully we should stop, you know, Owen for good. And because of that though, hopefully we would able to, you know, finish the game. So because of that, let's enter this particular section over there. And, well, much like the forms of in the stick world, sometimes that you always have to see that particular, you know, that particular camera perspective. And every once in a while, Owen appears. So, but this time with a different machine. And somehow he managed to got both Clyde and Inky.
That's enough, Erwin, you big bozo. You're gonna destroy us all!
Technically, no. My machines will keep me safe when the spectral realm crashes into the real world. It'll be dark and cold for a few years, but hey, do I look like I enjoy going out in the sun?
He's right, Pac-Man. The world will survive, but it'll be as dark as deep winter for years on end. And no one will be safe from the spectral monsters.
And my robot legions, powered by all that spectral energy, will be there to take over the whole world! That, and build huge statues of me. I kind of like statues. They make me look tall.
Well, it's a pretty clever plan, but... You're a loony! And I'm not gonna let you get away with it!
That's the stuff, Pac-Man. Oh, I've been looking forward to this bit. Get him!
Alright folks, this is it. This is the final boss in Pac-Man World 3. And sadly, that this is by far the most lackluster final bosses in any other Pac-Man World game. Nothing predictably that challenging at all. Especially noticeable how the fact that it plays out exactly like the forms of how it does it when we fight him for the first time since the 6th world. Except a notable difference is now is that there aren't any enemies involved this time around, and plus there aren't any power-ups to be found around here either. So this literally is basically the exact same boss fight as in last time, but except the fact that we now need to do it with the forms of 4 pillars instead of just 3. So, as usual, rev-roll those 4 panels, and, well, rev-roll panels, and that way we can able to actually let those pillars to able to rise, and then basically take down the shield. And basically, all we have to do in this part is that rather than just able to actually take down the actual ship part, we have to free Inky and Clyde, or technically Blinky, because again, the actual nonsensical knowledge for that particular name, because obviously Clyde was an orange ghost. But anyway, so yeah, you got to do this, rinse and repeat, and eventually you were able to try to dodge his laser attacks once again, just like in the forms of in the first time around, except the fact that with a different, you know, the machine that we have to deal with. So, again, it's definitely one of the luck-based, lackluster final bosses in any other Pac-Man World game. Because I said this before, that I was expecting if they were able to actually bring us something a bit difficult and challenging. But, on the other hand, though, it's kind of lacking. So, because of that, though, it's just basically the exact same fight as last time, so... But anyways, let's go ahead and rev-roll here, and able to take down his shield again, and, well, eventually, whenever you get into the forms of the halfway point of this particular boss fight, basically, although you still can't take damage on the forms of, you can't take down, Owen's, cockpit just yet, though, until you're able to free up, Clyde and, Inky. But unfortunately, though, my camera seemed able to screw me up for the camera control, so hopefully we would be able to actually just try to do this, like, repeated multiple times, but, yeah, aside from all that stuff, though, it's just the fact that it's pretty underwhelming, honestly. Like, I'd much rather prefer fighting against with Pac-Man again, or Spooky from Pac-Man World 2. Well, that's only because those are the only boss fights I can honestly truly remember at all times. Especially noticeable how the fact that usually for Pac-Man is, as I said, Pac-Man can be pretty difficult at times because of no checkpoints, whilst in Spooky can be also kind of tricky because of the attacks and everything, but at least you get checkpoints after each phases, so, except Pac-Man of course, so. Anyway, it is best to know that you're gonna have to keep on doing rev-roll on that particular, depending if how much distance does Owen's final machine just manage to able to go a little bit further away from us. So yeah, I've thought to myself about that. So hooray, we've actually managed to be able to rescue the 2 ghosts, which is Blinky and Clyde, or Inky and Clyde. Oh, I should probably point it out right away. I keep on like saying about the forms of that, you know, the confusion name again, so I do apologize for that. So yeah, generally we've rescued Inky and Clyde now, so because of that, we've managed able to rescue all 4 of these ghosts, because I'm pretty sure those ghosts didn't harm me, which that seems kind of surprising and true for that circumstances. Oh yeah, and eventually when it gets to the halfway point, as you notice, that he now starts shooting 2 lasers at once, so... But once again, though, it's pretty easy to dodge, though, just because... Oh, I forgot about this attack that he's going to be doing with. It's pretty easy to dodge this, especially noticeable thanks to that pillar. Did manage to save you, so yeah, that pretty much summarizes as such. And now let's go ahead and deal with his cockpit, and eventually, as soon as we deal enough hits on him, then we should be good to go, aside from the fact that the shield might able to actually go back up again, so I'll take a hit right there. I know it seems kind of reckless, though. But anyway, oh gosh, here's the last attack. This is basically by the forms of these missiles that he's launching. And by the way, these missiles instantly kills you. So because of that, if you dare touch them, you lose a life instantly. So because of that, yeah, it's definitely a bit trickier to able to avoid. Especially noticeable, you have to keep an eye on with the actual lock-on cursor that is about to target it at you. So yeah, it's probably best to able to try to avoid the actual missile thing at all times. So... yeah, I can usually just try to say that. Yeah, if you get died right there, you instantly die. Well, if you manage able to get hit by these missiles, so... And thankfully, I did manage to got the checkpoint, because obviously, it managed able to make me go back onto the battle and continue where I left off, so that should be alright. And I get the feeling, yeah, but I got killed again, so... That seems kind of unfair for that circumstances, but yeah, I've already known this, so we don't need to able to see this again. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's probably best to wait until we're able to be safe from this point. So, especially that we have to wait until when the actual lock-on cursor actually disappears from you. So, yeah, I think that pretty much summarized this particular boss fight. So, anyways, let's do some more referrals, and it's just you have to watch out for the actual missiles because otherwise they'll instantly kill you. So. Anyway, so let's just go ahead and deal with this last pillar before we take on the last few hits on Owen. And, well, we pretty much finished the game, so anyways, let's take down the shield for the one last time, and, hopefully, we would be able to make it, so without even letting my camera decide to screw me up, so anyways, let's bounce this for about 3 times, and he's done for good. So let's watch the ending to Pac-Man World 3 for multiple platforms.
My Terratron is dead. You killed it. Why must you destroy my giant robot death machines? What did they ever do to you?
You're finished, Irwin. You should have used your death machines, world conquest plans, and rampaging insanity for good instead of evil.
It's finished, all right, Pac-Man. But only for one of us.
For you?
Well, yes, it's entirely possible when one considers things have not been going well. What am I saying? Even now, my magnificent machine is poised to bring about the collapse of the spectral realm and give my legions all the energy we need to. Why are you looking at me like that?
Always keep your feet on the ground, Irwin.
I always hated yellow. Mother!
Don't worry, hon. I have a hunch your father will be back right about...
Home sweet... Falling! Hi, honey. I'm home.
Clyde, long time no see.
This birthday cake's delish, Mrs. Munchie. Guess my party invite got lost in the mail.
It's Ms. Hi, Mrs. Munchie. Hooray, more ghosts. Well, guys, I'm afraid we only have enough cake for exactly none of you. If that.
Oh! Hey, look! This cake has Clyde in it! Yay, Clyde!
Cool! I never tried a Clyde cake before.
Was sorry to drop in like this, Miss P, but we had nowhere else to go.
I assume you have a logical explanation for your whereabouts?
An insane little man with unresolved issues attacked the spectral realm. But he fell into a beam of raw power, so he won't be doing that again soon.
Aw, beams of raw power are cute.
Anyway, Orson's working on fixing up the spectral realm. We'll only be here a while, a few weeks, or months, tops. What's for dinner?
You are.
You heard the lady. I believe now's the part where you run.
Oh, come on, Munchie. You don't want to eat me. Think of all we've been through together. Okay, bad example.
So much like in Pac-Man World 1, that Pac-Man just managed able to got the power pellet, and sure enough, he'll able to eat the ghost again. Except rather than just eating Orson this time, that he just basically eats all 4 ghosts, just like in the actual arcade days. So yeah, let's bring my final thoughts of Pac-Man World 3. I gotta say, it was okay. I mean, nothing amazing or anything else like that. I will say that this is perhaps one of my least favorite games in terms of the Pac-Man World trilogy of games. I still prefer the first game and the second game, just because of the first game is actually pretty good for the sake of like the level themes as far as they bring us to the table, and especially noticeable for certain boss fights that are kind of unique in Pac-Man World 1. Whilst in Pac-Man World 2, the soundtrack is magnificent in that game, and especially noticeable with the level themes, kind of generic, but at least it's pretty fun to explore. And also the boss fights plays out exactly the same, aside from like different environments and different strategy to attack for like, well, you know what I'm saying. For Pac-Man World 3, let's get to the only positive thing about this is that I think I will say this right now, I do like the humor when it comes to like breaking the fourth wall sometimes, and especially noticeable how the fact that, well, the voice acting is okay, I mean, nothing substantial about it or anything, to me though anyway, and gameplay is alright. I mean, usually we still got the familiar platforming involved, just like in the forms of the previous 2 games, except the fact that rather than going for leniency, it's all about exploration. So at least I'm fine with that. And aside from that, visuals are okay, and the soundtrack is pretty forgettable. Especially noticeable is how the fact that it just feels kind of generic and all that stuff. Controls wise, it's pretty good for the most part. But story is kind of interesting. I mean, usually it's just managed to able to go like, wow, usually Pac-Man just managed to go all over the place for different environments thanks to the forms of Orson's specific device and stuff like that. I'm pretty 100% sure about this. But, you know, relatively speaking, that's as far as I can usually try to say about this. The only negative thing about this game, though, is that I feel like the combat is a bit too tedious, and especially noticeable with how the fact that, well, the levels are alright, but it's just the fact that it just feels kind of uninspired to me. And as far as I'm aware, that's usually the soundtrack is just pretty forgettable for my liking. So because of that, yeah, it's definitely still is my least favorite in terms of the entire trilogy. But regardless of such though, is the fact that it's probably best to rent it. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. And as I said this before, since in the previous video, there's no way I can show off the extra video, just because, well, I've already mentioned about this several times. So, yeah, that concludes our Let's Play of Pac-Man World 3 for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox, PSP, and of course, the PC and the DS versions Let's Play. So because of that, and suffice to say, I think we're pretty much done with the rest of this series. So, I enjoyed it for a bit, even though it's not my favorite game in the world, but hey, at least that's something, I suppose, to able to keep you guys interested. So, yeah, with that being said, this is me, Mexi, from the likes of the Mexi Toys, and until then, I am about to be taking a break from this game, and sure enough though, I will see you guys soon enough. Bye.